According to an article from the Family Journal Counseling and Therapy for Couples and Families, adolescence is the developmental stage following the onset of puberty. It marks the transition from childhood to adulthood, as well as the beginning of sexual maturation. For youth of today, the time of physical maturation is approximately 11 and a half years. However, due to the challenges posed by our technologically advanced society and our emphasis on higher education, the age of economic independence has increased substantially over time. As a result, the age range for adolescents in America is estimated at roughly 10 to 24 years of age. It is crucial to note that adolescents mature at different rates, and that physical and biological development do not always correspond to cognitive and psychosocial development. This variability, in conjunction with societal influences and expectations, can cause increased conflict and risks for a sexually developing teen. Changes in familial and social relations common to adolescents can have significant impacts on the sexual behaviors of teens as well. Middle adolescence, ages 14 to 17, is marked by the attainment of full physical maturation and is typically the time at which sexuality becomes a driving force for adolescents. Sexual behavior becomes more exploratory and potentially exploitative at this time. A 1996 study found that teens and middle adolescents struggle to navigate complex sexual situations involving peer pressure, drinking, drug use, and relationships that they perceive as moving too fast. About one-third of the adolescents in the survey reported doing something sexual or feeling pressure to do something sexual that they were not ready to do. Unfortunately, according to a 2013 study in the American Journal of Community Psychology, adolescents between the ages of 12 and 17 are at a higher risk of sexual assault, twice that of adults. In a 2015 article from the journal Violence Against Women, the researchers conducted retrospective prevalence studies with adult women, in which they found 6% of these women were raped between the ages of 12 and 17. They also found that 30% to 35% of adult female survivors were first assaulted in adolescence. National scale surveys of children and adolescents found that 6% of 14 to 17-year-old girls have been raped, with 8% having been assaulted in the past year alone. What's worse is the aforementioned 2013 article also reported that up to 85% of adolescent survivors feel comfortable disclosing to friends and family, while less than 7% will disclose to mandatory reporters, who can give them formal help. What does this statistic say about our society? Why haven't our women and girls felt safe seeking justice for sexual victimization? Adolescents are at a time of formative development, where their lives are influenced and shaped by the world around them. How can we begin to breed a culture of respect surrounding female sexuality? In recent months, innumerable women and girls have spoken up publicly in an effort to change the rhetoric and culture surrounding rape and sexual assault in and beyond this nation. It all began with a New York Times article exposing the sexual crimes perpetrated by famed Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein paid off sexual harassment accusers for decades. The New York Times article began with a revelation from Ashley Judd, claiming Weinstein had her sent to his room, where he appeared in a bathrobe and offered her a massage. The New York Times uncovered allegations against Weinstein stretching over 3 decades. As a result of these accusations, Weinstein issued an apology acknowledging that he has caused a lot of pain, but he also denied the allegation that he harassed female employees for nearly 3 decades. In fact, one of his lawyers has indicated that Weinstein intends to sue the New York Times for issuing a report that was saturated with false and defamatory statements. Even so, more and more women have come forward accusing Weinstein of sexual harassment and assault, over 30 women for that matter. The Weinstein allegations sparked a much larger movement in subsequent months. Another New York Times article entitled, "After Weinstein, 42 Men Accused of Sexual Misconduct and Their Fall from Power," chronicles the sexual harassment cases involving famous persons like Matt Lauer of Today or Russell Simmons of Def Jam Records that have emerged in recent months following the Harvey Weinstein allegations. 42 of the accused men have resigned or been fired, while 24 of these men have been suspended or suffered some other repercussion. Innumerable women have come forward to reveal their own experiences with harassment and assault via social media as a part of the #MeToo movement, a movement intended to publicly denounce sexual assault and harassment. Social progress that has been well received and endorsed by Time magazine. Time magazine named All the Silence Breakers as 2017's Person of the Year. If you look at the cover, you'll see an arm with no person. This arm belongs to one woman who preferred to remain anonymous for fear of retribution. This incomplete image is a reminder that women have made strides in combating rape culture in recent months, but that the fight is nowhere near over, especially when we consider the misogynistic messages put forth by our own president, Donald Trump. The first two quotes are from a 2005 interview in which he made several vulgar remarks involving women that explicitly state he has sexually assaulted women. The final quote is from a Howard Stern interview in which he bragged about performing inspections on his beauty pageant contestants. As of November 22nd, Trump has been accused of sexual assault involving physical touch by 13 women, but there have been other sexual harassment allegations made against him. Considering the political climate in which our adolescents are growing up today, messages of empowerment and healthful sexuality must be reinforced in our classrooms. According to a 2016 study by educational psychologist Dorothy Espelage, 43% of middle school students surveyed reported that they had been victims of verbal sexual harassment during the prior year. 21% reported having been touched, grabbed, or pinched in a sexual way. 18% said peers had brushed against them in suggestive ways, and 14% have been the target of sexual rumors. Sexual harassment among adolescents is directly related to bullying and must be addressed by teachers and administrators. A 2013 article asserts that teachers and counselors can be instrumental support for adolescent sexual assault survivors and should receive training to become effective responders. But beyond their role as responders, English teachers are in a special position where they can help reinforce and promote positive messages pertaining to consent and sexuality through literature, particularly, as I will argue, young adult literature, a genre that many adolescents find relatable and accessible. Forever by Judy Blume presents a mutual and consensual sexual relationship between two adolescents that can serve as a model for students. The main character, Catherine, falls in love with a boy named Michael. While they initially believe the relationship will last forever, Catherine chooses to break up with Michael to pursue a new romance. Catherine's ability to retain a sense of independence, be honest about her feelings, and act in her best interests can also serve as a model for healthy sexual development and intimacy. The novel also features a less mutual relationship between a girl named Erica and a boy named Artie. Artie is questioning his sexuality and struggling with mental illness as a result. Erica's attempts at turning him straight, so to speak, may have contributed to his attempted suicide. This novel can be used to demonstrate and discuss what consent looks like, a subject that is too often glossed over. It can also be used to address the concept of women as sexual abusers, a concept that is often dismissed as impossible. The novel Speak tells the story of a girl named Melinda who is ostracized after she calls the cops at a party one summer. All of her friends abandon her because she is suddenly unpopular. She was raped at the party by a boy named Andy Evans, but feels powerless to tell anyone. She hopes that by never speaking of the incident, she'll forget. But this does not work. During the height of her depression, she is only able to express herself through art. She begins to discover her voice once again when she finally admits to herself that she was raped and that it was not her fault, even if she had been drinking. This novel can be used to demonstrate the serious physical, emotional, and mental toll rape takes on its victims and the harm that bullying can do in general, but also in such a delicate situation. It can also spark discussion about explicit consent as the only valid form of consent, especially when one or both parties are inebriated. Sexual assault is a serious issue that can be combated through open and honest discussions in educational settings.